So an amazing interview just took place between Bray Wyatt and Ryan Satin over on WWE on Fox. It's not the longest interview in the world, but it is very, very insightful. We get lots of information regards to Uncle Howdy, about the Pitch Black match, about the Undertaker moment. Let's get into it, shall we? So here's an image of Bray and Ryan during that interview. And basically, Bray was saying that he was questioning if he still had it as he was going into his first match, as he was coming into his return. He said he started to remember who he was and why he did this. During his time away, he had a chance to do movies and TV shows, but couldn't. He felt damaged, but fans gave him strength. He also went on to say that he actually refuses to watch his matches back. He's obsessed with creating and moving forwards, but there's always part of him that thinks he can always do better, and actually that was something that we would always come back to. He doesn't watch his old stuff. He always thinks he can improve, move forwards, tell a better story. So he's very focused constantly on the future, on what's next. He said if he didn't have such passionate fans, then he doesn't think that he would be here. I think he meant in regards to being back with WWE. They moved on to Brodie. This was quite touching. He said there was so much going on around that time. He lost his childhood best friend. Obviously, he lost Brodie as well. And he said he didn't deal with it well. Neither he nor Rowan dealt with it well. And it took a while for him to kind of find himself and kind of come out of that. The conversation moved on to the Pitch Black match. And he said that this is really interesting. He doesn't know what it is. This is not his idea. So he's excited walking into the unknown. He said that he would rather it be pitch black than a red light, which I thought was interesting. Seems like he wasn't a fan, maybe, of the red light, or maybe he's had enough of the red light. But I thought that was very interesting. He also said he's not a sponsor guy. He's not the guy that works with sponsors. He's the monster in the back. So this sort of feels to me like the Pitch Black match. Mountain Dew, I think, want this match. I think WWE have looked at it and said, right, how do we do it? They've decided, well, Bray is the best person to put in this. And so, sadly, I think this isn't part of a big master plan as such. I think this is Mountain Dew wanting to have a Pitch Black match and Bray being the best fit. So he said he's excited by it. Because Triple H is booking, I'm sure, obviously, it's going to be fine. And I'm sure Bray's going to have lots of input as to what it is they're going to actually do during the match. He did also hint that there was a budget for this match. He didn't really kind of go into things, but he was talking about how this match is being sponsored, and I'm sure he said the word budget. So I don't know what to expect here. I think it's very interesting, though. This has not come necessarily from the mind of Bray. Conversation moved on then to White Rabbits. And I thought this was interesting because Bray was saying that he knows that he's appreciated now, but he thinks he'll be appreciated more in 10 to 20 years. He said, this was a major thing. It looked mental written down on paper. And actually, they didn't go as far with this as he wanted to. He wanted to go further. And he says that he thinks that this sort of thing has changed the industry. And honestly, he could be right there because there really isn't anyone else doing this kind of a campaign. And it was so engaging, and it used social media, and it used, YouTube, TikTok. It was absolutely everywhere. It wasn't just on the show. That's where you found the QR codes. You went on a journey. There was, telephone numbers to call and everything. And we just don't see that. So I do agree with him. He then moved on to his return, and he said that he hadn't experienced a sensation like that. It was a crazy reaction. He doesn't, again, go back and watch. He reiterated he doesn't go back and watch. His mindset is that he can always be better. He told a little story about how he likes to paint, and if someone praises a painting, he covers it straight over and thinks to himself, well, if you think that's good, you wait till you see what I do next time kind of a mentality. And he said that he hates himself for that. He wishes it wasn't that way, but that's just how his mind works. Then we got on to Uncle Howdy. So he said that this was really interesting. So he said, if you've ever met someone with a split personality, it's not cut and dry. It's not like the movies. He says that he's got been diagnosed with things that he's not willing to share. And he said that Uncle Howdy it's real. It's all based on real things that have happened to him, real moments. He said the story hasn't been told yet. It's much deeper than what people realize. Even Bray doesn't fully understand it, but he's saying that this is based in reality. It's based on things that have happened to him. And honestly, this part of the conversation was absolutely riveting. So it seems like we have just scratched the surface, if even that, with Uncle Howdy's. So very exciting. Then we moved on to some I wasn't expecting, Man in the Woods. So basically Ryan said, so is Man in the Woods and Fiend and Uncle Howdy, is that all connected? For those of you that haven't seen Man in the Woods, this was a WWE.com, like YouTube exclusive horror story. And obviously Bray told this story and a lot of people found connections to the Fiend. Now, Bray didn't necessarily go as far as to say that they were all connected, but he did actually say that he thinks people talk too much these days. And giving away these kind of answers would just be boring, which I do understand because part of the fun is, you know, making up your own mind on these things and exploring the clues. If he just comes out and tells us, well, that in a way just ruins everything. So he said that he doesn't want to say too much. Plus also, he said some of this stuff is really heavy, you know, kind of touching back to what he said about Uncle Howdy. Some of this is really heavy, and it's based on things that have happened. And honestly, if he shared everything, it might actually be too much. It might be too much for people to, like, be able to take on board. But he was saying that Uncle Howdy comes from a dark thing that happened in his life. It's based on something real. All of these things, there's so much more to them. But as we said, you know, he wasn't going to be giving any more details away than that. Then we moved on, and we moved on to the Hawaiian Shirt Bray. He was talking about how Hawaiian Shirt Bray can't be around anymore. It can't be without Brodie. So with Brodie not around, like, this character is just done. I think one of the most interesting parts of this interview is when he speaks about the Fiend, and this has already been teased in the trailer for this interview. But basically, he says that's it. I mean, he could not be more clear. He said the Fiend died at WrestleMania last year, the other year. It's not just a goof in a mask. He said it can never be again. It's gone. That's it. That is it. I mean, he was very clear, said, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but it can never be again. It is gone. It's done. Like, the Fiend is done. He was very, very clear. There is no hidden messages here, or seemingly not. The only thing I would say is that could we see an evolution for this character? Could this character evolve? Maybe that's what Uncle Howdy is. Maybe this is why Bray is so focused on Uncle Howdy. It's absolutely fascinating. He rounded off this part of the conversation by saying that Alexa is the last happy piece of that time. And, you know, he says that he doesn't know really what's going to be next, but not expecting her to be reunited with the Fiend. And if she is, then I don't think it's going to be the Fiend that we knew. You see, I still feel like the Fiend comes back in some form, just because I think WWE are going to want that character. It's a character that generates ratings. It's generates revenue. I know that Bray can say no, and, you know, I'm sure he's got more of a say with Triple H than he did maybe with Vince. But don't forget, Vince is back at the top now. If Vince wants the Fiend, then Vince, I'm sure, could get the Fiend. So, I don't know. I'm really torn on it. I'm really torn. I really believe, though, in Bray's mind, he feels like the Fiend that we know before and saw before is done. But he wasn't giving much away as to what could be next for Alexa. He spoke as well about how he's been putting lots of stuff out there and couldn't believe that people were picking it up. And it was so rewarding when it was, be it like his tweets or be it Man in the Woods or things along those lines. Just, yeah, really, really interesting, in-depth stuff that he was going through. And he spoke about the fact that he trained with boxers to return to get his head in order. And he said that everything that's happening now is organic. It's not necessarily prepared. And that's, he said, the genius of Triple H. So he's very much saying that this is organic. I don't know how true that is. We know that there is someone in charge of long-term booking. We know that Rob Fee has come in and he is making sure that these stories do get somewhere. I think there is an architecture as to where the stories have got to get to, but maybe there's a few weeks whereby, you know, they can be a little bit more creative, a bit more fast and loose. And he said he doesn't know if that's coming across on TV, but, you know, that's what's going on. So very interesting again. And then we got to a bit of the conversation I think everyone was waiting for, and this was Undertaker. He said, I think everyone can see it for what it was. He said it's only something that the Undertaker said is only something that Bray would understand. He said that it was very powerful, unexpected, and that is a special segment that he can watch again. And he said it's a moment no one can take away from him and that he thinks people can see it for what it is. So very heavily teasing that that was the passing of the torch moment. So, yeah, that is one he said he can watch again, and it seemed to mean a lot to him. And actually, we ended this interview, as we said it wasn't very long, but we ended the interview with Ramblin' Rabbit, and he said, honest opinion on Ramblin' Rabbit is Ramblin' Rabbit's the only puppet that wasn't designed to be there. He became my resilience. He's goofy, he's dumb, I can't stand him, but in a way, he's me. And, I mean, wow, that's amazing. That's a great line. You know, I mean, Ramblin' Rabbit has, in my mind, always been Bray's promo style. You know, he was kind of derided for his promos and how he would talk and they would never really get anywhere. Certainly when he was cult leader Bray. And so for me, Rambling Rabbit was kind of that you know, was symbolic of that. I never really considered it so much as Bray's resilience. So I thought that was very, very interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much what they ended it on. They seemingly just ran out of time, but it was excellent. I mean, when do we ever get a chance to hear from Bray Wyatt? We just don't. And, you know, even Ryan said, you know, this is a really special moment for me. I'm so grateful that you've been able to give us this time. He definitely gave us some insight, obviously not going too far with things, but I think there's a few things you can take out of that are very interesting. I think the one that might grab the headlines is obviously about the Fiend, but I think the fact that Uncle Howdy is based on real moments and we haven't even started exploring the complexity of that story yet, I think that's also going to have people very excited. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Appreciate the support as always. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.